presented. So now we've seen about the AI, what it can do, then the importance of data. We will welcome our next presenter. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Hope I'm saying right, Juarez.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you very much.
Perfect.
That's fantastic.
Really glad to make it first.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks for actually we are thanks for having you, especially with all your expertise and all the knowledge you have gathered all these years.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And I see here that the topic is going to be very interesting. And now going back to more particular use of AI, which is the Gen AI.
Exactly. But with a focus on software engineers and architects. So it is not necessarily a talk for machine learning engineers. So we don't have that low level math here. But anyway, I think it will be an interesting talk. We'll see.
Yeah. So in this case, I say you have the stage.
Oh, perfect. So let me share my screen. Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Yeah. We can see.
Perfect. All right. So thanks again. And let's get started. All right. So good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or I don't know, good evening, depending on where you are.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll have a talk about GenAI app development with Java, Spring AI, and the Oracle database as well, of course. Um, it's a delight for me to participate in this event today. My name is Juarez Barbosa Jr. I work for Oracle as a senior principal Java developer evangelist. I'm speaking from Dublin, Ireland. I have over 20 years of experience in software engineer and developer relations with some companies, as you can see here. I focus on technologies like Java, Python, Cloud, DevOps, Cloud Native, IoT, a little bit of AI as well, blockchain, and Rust. Okay. So I'm a frequent speaker at some events. Okay, so my role, is to win the hearts and minds of developers and evangelize the good and the nice technologies that we have. Talk about many things, primarily focusing on Java. You can see some of the conferences that I'm a usual and frequent speaker, as I said. Okay, but of course, this is not a talk about my experience, so let's move forward. Okay, just to set the stage here, this is our agenda for today. Let's explore a little bit of AI and Gen AI, and then talk about synthetic content. Okay, that's a very quick intro, of course, because 2024 is the year of AI and Gen AI in general. Okay, so I don't think we'll have to over explore this one because everyone, all tech companies, all the technology communities are exploring and talking about Gen AI. Then we'll move to have a look at OpenAI, and then after that, Spring AI, position the project and understand its ultimate goal. Some interesting demos with the Spring AI API, some implementations, of course. In 45 minutes, it's impossible for me to cover all the possible use cases or perhaps the uses of their API, which is quite extensive and feature complete. Although Spring AI is still at version 0.81, okay, so it graduated from an experimental project, a while ago, but it's really moving fast. And I can say that at the moment, also, it can do amazing things. And then I want to explore Gen AI with a technology called Oracle AI Vector Search that is now available and supported by Oracle and our Oracle database 23 AI. Okay, that's native in the database with support for things like vector data store, vector data types, vector search, And the nice thing also for the math that usually you have to implement, depending on the specific framework or the approach to GenAI, in order to do things like semantic search, that's supported natively by the database. Okay, so there are some specific features and functionalities natively supported by Oracle, and that's a nice thing because at the end of the day, we can avoid a famous anti-pattern in software called the platform effect. When usually we move the responsibilities of middleware or a backend to your code, the application code, and then you start to create, some functionalities or code constructs that would not be needed in case that was offered by the component that you have at hand. In our case, the Oracle database. Okay. So, and after that, I want to talk a little bit about the Spring AI with the Oracle database and vector search as well. I happen to have a demo here. The implementation that I have is a custom one because I will show you the links at the moment. With the release of Oracle 23 AI that happened actually 16 days ago, yes, on the 2nd of May, okay, we are about to finish our official contributions to both Spring AI and LangChain, okay, as part of those open source projects, some contributions from Oracle, okay, so we'll have an official implementation of a vector data store for the Oracle database, sorry. And after that, provide you some technical references and speak, if possible, depending on how much time will be left. I want to talk about some of the nice programs and offers that Oracle has for developers. Okay, so yes, just speaking of an AI and Gen AI, at the end of the day, with generative AI, we are talking about the capabilities offered by the famous LLMs, the large language models, but also the SLMs, the small language models. So there's a different category of models that you can actually use as perhaps more limited but still powerful models, lightweight ones that you can even run at the edge, with things like IoT. And now we have a trend in some strong processors, powerful processors that can run, machine learning workloads, at the edge with things like also the enablement of IoT, Internet of Things, robotics, and so on. But when we talk about Gen AI, at the end of the day, we are talking about generating synthetic content, okay? So as an example here, I generated this image. Craiova is the largest city in southwestern Romania, picture in a futuristic scenario, kind of cyberpunk scenario, So I'm not 100% sure if it does reflect Craiova, but from some photos that I've explored, it seems so, right? But I want the takeaway from this slide here is that we are talking about generating a synthetic content, and it changes everything, okay? Because with Gen AI and the powerful models and the associated algorithms and the so-called transformer models like GPT, right? The T is stands for a transformer, right? We have this capability now of generating content. And when I speak about content, I'm talking about text, images, video, code, and other things. Okay, so amazing models like, I don't know, OpenAI Sora, where you can create, entire videos, quite rich videos from text. That's really impressive. The generation usually is the result of an input prompt, okay? And there's an entire, I would say, space and also area called prompt engineering, some techniques that will help you guide, the interaction with some models and the way that you can actually achieve what you want as your goal, okay? Also, usually a training set is required. The training set is important because, those models, in order to, train them and optimize and fine tune them, it is really expensive. Okay, so the training data sets, and we can also generate synthetic data sets. Okay, they are important because as you train the model, and that's expensive again in terms of the hardware utilization, CPU, disk, memory, and indirectly electricity, and all the investments that you need. And as you are training the model, there's a way to actually create the so-called checkpoints. Okay, we can put them as a kind of save points in databases or snapshots. Okay, for I don't know, a virtual machine or something like that, where you can train the model and then you can restart the training from that point. Okay, because it wouldn't make sense in case you have to stop training a specific model with a data set and then start from the beginning, at point zero. Okay, so because with that you can incrementally improve and fine-tune the model, and at the end of the day, if you are reducing the investments in terms of hardware utilization, you are reducing costs and saving money. Okay, in terms of applications, many different current fields are exploring Gen AI at the moment. Content development, entertainment, drug discovery, healthcare, software development, code generation, material sciences, and material generation, and so on. Okay, just some few examples here, but of course, you can just do your own investigation of that. Last thing, ethical issues associated with that. We have that thing that is so important called responsible AI. The right use and application of artificial intelligence in order to avoid misuse, the so-called deep fakes, bias, and discrimination. Some ways that the models, can actually hallucinate or perhaps, adopt some discriminative, approaches to some context and scenarios. Also, the application of Gen AI in terms of automation and job replacements. There are some discussions about the level of automation and the amplification of that, and the resulting implications. Cybersecurity and cyber criminals, because of course those rogue guys, they like to explore technology. They wouldn't overlook this one. Okay, but at the end of the day, take away from this slide here, AI is now a commodity. Okay, why? Because we are at a very interesting moment in technology where all the APIs and the availability of cloud computing, so you don't have to have the capex anymore to invest in hardware resources and start a team and deploy an entire data center, and then cope with the depreciation of those investments. Okay, with cloud, you can just go and hire the right services that you need, including the ones that support your AI use cases. Okay, and now on top of that, we have pretty much all the frameworks supported by programming languages, best frameworks, and also the models, everything. So we are moving to a phase now where you can really apply AI, because even concerning the infrastructure layer, from a standpoint of a solutions architecture and cloud computing technologies. Okay, and also the software layer and the application layer on top of that, we have all the building blocks. We have all the bits, to achieve and also be creative and innovate on top of that. Okay, so speaking of OpenAI, it needs no introduction, I guess. But at the end of the day, these models, they primarily focus and are created in considerations of something called NLP, or natural language processing. So they can translate plain English language as an example, or we have models now that can actually work with pretty much all the languages that we have available worldwide. And then with that, we have the pre-trained models, as I talked about, and the customizable machine learning models. Okay, so the nice thing with RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, you have a model that is trained in a specific data set, but then you can augment, or complement the context of that model to consider things like, the business scenario that you want to address, or the specific area in knowledge concerning what you want to achieve, or business related data, that belongs to your business. Okay, so with that, you can add quite meaningful, context to the overall solution, and that will serve the purpose of achieving the best of both worlds, of using, the cutting edge models, but also combining that with data that is meaningful to your business. Okay, Open API, it offers a REST API, pretty much, the HTTP protocol as the de facto protocol for such integrations, JSON as the also the format for such interactions, perhaps the de facto format now, a lightweight one. Scalable infrastructure, that's important because, those companies, OpenAI, Cohere, and many others, they offer you also the infrastructure, and we have the so-called GPUs there, the powerful processing units that can support such use cases. And the ultimate goal of that all is to achieve what they call AGI, or artificial general intelligence, where those models, and they will be somehow at the same level, on par with the human knowledge and and perhaps ability. Okay, some areas they are actually now pretty much there. Okay, like, I don't know, voice recognition and voice synthesization and so on. A link here to Sora, but I'm sure you've seen Sora previously. If not, I think the event organizers will make my deck available after the event. Okay, so you can have a look at your home. Okay, shifting gears now, let's talk about Spring AI. Okay, so as I said, version 0.81, so that's still not the final version or a GA version. Okay, in terms of concepts, I'm not going to explore everything here, because I talked about the models, I talked about prompt engineering and the interactions in chat, and I'm sure you used, ChatGPT, so you understand that now. But anyway, the resource is here for you. Okay, the best link provided as a landing page, that belongs to the Spring AI project. Okay, so I advise you to please have a look at it. So it is, of course, framework, under the umbrella of the Spring framework and the Spring ecosystem and Spring Boot. Okay, that allows you to have a very powerful abstraction layer that will encapsulate, many of the complexities and details that are required to interact with those GenAI providers and the respective models. You can see some of them listed here again. Okay, including, Cohere, OpenAI, the Google solutions, and so on. Okay, so the goal here then is to accelerate and support the Spring ecosystem in focusing on creating applications and using Spring, as the enabler, okay, for such solutions, and use the same approach and style for all things Spring, that is to facilitate your life as a developer, and accelerate your focus and your delivery in terms of creating applications. Okay. Yes, speaking of Spring now and RAG, okay, which is an interesting technique, because though, as I said, those LLMs usually they have some baseline knowledge, out from the training with the specific data sets. Okay, we have the save points, we have the checkpoints and everything, as I explained. But depending on how you ask, or the question you ask, in an interaction with a large language model, perhaps the results won't be the best ones. Okay, even if that's attached to a recent trend or event or a new technology or anything else. Okay, so, and that's why it's important to apply this technique, which is to actually embed and augment the way that you can provide more context and information to those models, so you can start to get better results. Okay, a couple of links here, to very good pages and explanations by Oracle, what is RAG and what's GenAI. Okay, again, I advise you to visit those. But in a nutshell, RAG is a technique that you can read unstructured data and convert that into the so-called tokens. Okay, then using embeddings to transform the tokens into floating point arrays of vectors, so that the LLM can process and interpret them. And we store those in vector databases like the Oracle 23 AI database. Okay, and with that, it changes everything as well, because vector search allows you to perform searches, and look for data, but in a semantic way. Okay, we are not talking about running SQL queries with exact matches, to values and those things. There are several different functions and mathematical computations that can be applied to enable semantic search and other features. Okay, and that's the thing that I said Oracle provides natively on the database side for you. Okay, some specialized functions, which is great because again, we are avoiding the situation where, okay, if I want to create an Oracle data store with Spring AI to enable that, I don't have to do that heavy math computation in order to achieve that. I can just offload that to the database because the database is taking care of that for me. Okay, I would consider that as the right approach to delivering vector databases, but that's questionable, of course. Okay. At the end of the day, in software, we know there's no right or wrong. There are some things that change, of course. Speaking of Java as an example, if today I want to adopt the famous for Java 2EE patterns, and I have a look at that catalog, I will see that the vast majority of those patterns, they are now anti-patterns because the technology has evolved. Okay, so many of the proposed blueprints and constructs as part of that catalog, they don't make sense anymore. Okay, and that's how technology evolves, but there's no right or wrong. Perhaps a pattern is good today, but in 5 years from now, if another person go and check the code for a given project, they will have a look and say, oh, but this is not necessary anymore. But you have to take into consideration it is because technologies, they evolve. Okay, and that's a good thing at the end of the day. Okay. So yes, this Spring AI, it covers a wide range of functionalities: chat completion, embeddings, image generation, transcription, vector databases, and vector stores, function calling, which is the ability, quite interesting function calling, to allow the model actually to call code on the client side. Okay, because usually the client side is interacting with the model in a kind of passive and active way, if we can put it that way. But we allow the model also to be active and call, the client side and execute code and functions on the client side, which is quite interesting. Okay, you can create very elaborated use cases with that. So let's shift gears here now, guys. I want to show you some of the examples that I have. I'm using Eclipse here, by the way, because, at the end of the day, the best IDE is the one that you are most productive with. I do use VS Code, I work it for Microsoft as well, and I use many other tools here, but I think this one is good because I can have the full context of what I want to show here. Let me clear that. Let me confirm if I have my application running. Yes. Okay, so this application is interesting. I started it in advance because it ingests data. Okay, I'm ingesting JSON files here as part of RAG and PDF files and so on. So, and that's time-consuming and somehow heavy operation. Okay, for, I don't know, my laptop, I only have CPU. I don't have GPUs here. So that's why I decided to do that. The application is a simple one, as you can see here. Spring Boot, the usual application with Spring Boot. Then I have the configurations here. The configurations, that's where I'm loading the data, as I explained. As an example here, I'm doing RAG and absorbing and ingesting data from a PDF file. So I'll ask questions with and without using the file here. I have different methods and calls. Some I will call OpenAI directly. Some I will call a function that will actually take into consideration the augmentation of that context with the vector store and so on. For this one specifically, I'm using an implementation of an in-memory vector store. Okay, that's an example that is provided with Spring. I think I have Spring open here. Let me see if I can find what I want to show you. Perhaps, yes, with vector databases, what I'm talking about now is, the implementation of vector store. And as I said, we have some even community contributions to implement a vector store for the Oracle database. But as I said, we are about to release that as a feature for both OpenAI and LangChain. You can see LangChain here, but you can see Spring AI here, community contributions, but we are working on that to have an official support and release by Oracle. But anyway, what I want to show you, some examples here of that you can have a look later, and the available implementations. You can see implementations for many databases here, and we'll have our official implementation here as well. Okay, and in terms of the way that you can use this, the simple vector store, it's a kind of in-memory implementation. You can, of course, save and load files from the file system as well. There are some different methods that you can use, but that's what I have here. Okay, and I have an example with image generation as well. And the model is DALL-E, offered by OpenAI. Okay, the implementation of the vector store for Oracle database. I don't want to show you the implementation of this one because I'm not sure, this is something that I created, so I don't want to perhaps create inflated expectations about something that I created. And quite frankly, I consider it is not an optimal solution. Simple vector store, okay, and so on. Controllers in Spring as usual. Okay, so you have the annotation for the stereotype of a controller, and then I can expose, create REST endpoints with the specific URIs and to enable, calls against this solution. And I have that for a completion controller to image generation, ingest PDF file, also to ingest JSON files here. What else? Yes, and the usual actual implementation of services. Okay, so with some examples for prompts here, that's a kind of template for a prompt. Okay, you can see that the API is a simple one. Okay, I created the template for this prompt as an example. Then I format the data that I get from the recommendation controller as a call. You can see here country, activity, and model. Okay, I relate and I send that to my service. And with that, I can just instantiate a prompt template, create a prompt, and then I can use the chat client to actually call OpenAI. Okay, as an example, there are different clients that you can use for image client and so on. I listed them, and the documentation has it. So let's do something now. Let's have a quick, where is it? I think, no. Oh, yes, this one. Okay, so the first one, it's just playing a recommendation. Okay, so let me show you a recommendation controller, this one here that I presented to you. So let's start to interact with OpenAI here, okay, as an example. So yes, I want some, recommendations for trips. So let me include Romania as the country I'm interested in, and I want to go hiking, and I'm bold. Okay, so yeah, let's perform this call here. Hopefully, I still have the bits running here. Okay, all the components. I may have, yes. Okay, so yes, I got a reply. Okay, so yes, you can see it's here. So I know, perhaps I'm not sure if that's correct, but I think so. Okay, you tell me, guys. So yes, you can see a nice recommendation here and so on. In terms of this call here and the general configuration in Spring, okay, again, Spring is doing everything for you, quite straightforward. You can see I just configured the OpenAI key here. I actually updated it to use the latest model GPT-4o. Okay, unfortunately, I don't have the time to show everything here, but the responses, they are really better than the previous one. Okay, you may think, oh no, this model upgrade is not a thing. It is. Okay, even the context window and the number of params that you can receive and so on. Some configurations to connect with the Oracle database that I have here with some vector tables and so on. Okay, so like this one here. I'm gonna talk about that shortly here. And yes, and again, some configurations. We have a very interesting connection pool called UCP, okay, that can be enabled for some open source components as well. So I'm talking here about replacing Hickory as a connection pool and actually adding that as a solution. Let's shift gear here and then call, this is a simple vector search against the vector store with plain text. Okay, so it's just a quick call. Let me rush here because I think my session is about to finish. Okay, so there's a nice message here for you guys. Okay, so that's an interaction with OpenAI. A search against, JSON files, okay, that I ingested as well. Okay, so this call here, if you check, I have bytes JSON here. Okay, so I ingested that, and then I will get a reply, a response, that is actually augmented, and you can see the result. That's how I implemented RAG here. What else? Okay, I'm gonna skip this one because at the end of the day, it is the same thing. Perhaps this one here for image generation. Okay, so yeah, this one takes a bit. I just want to walk you through, some topics. I have a blog post on Medium. If you go and look for Juarez Junior, or if you go to Oracle Devs on Medium as well, you will find my blog post under the Java tab. Okay, and then we have this functionality with Oracle AI Vector Search. There's a free database, that is offered for developers now that you can run, using things like VirtualBox and VMs, or you can run it as a Docker container and so on. I do advise you to have a look. Included a code sample that I have here. Okay, I wanted to show it with Spring, but I have a simple example here. I can just, you can see the database is empty here, but just to finish, I can run this example quickly here. Okay, it will actually perform some inserts, and computations and interactions. I have some vectors here that would simulate the result of converting your PDFs or your data to a meaningful vector. Okay, and then if I go there and I search the Oracle database, you can see the embeddings here. All right. I think apart from that, I will have a blog post about this talk as well, with the code samples and the explanation with Spring, but I think I'm 2 minutes beyond my time. Okay, so I want to thank you again, and if possible, I can take some questions now if we have some. Thank you very much.
You're actually right on time. You still have a few more minutes.
Oh, that's perfect then. Okay, so let's have a look at the image generation call. Oh, yes. Oh, perfect. Okay, it completed. If we check yes, some of the examples, in my application is interesting because some of them I load the PDFs, when I start the application. Okay, some of them I load, as an example, the JSON file on demand. Okay, so you'll see different messages logged here at different times. Okay, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to give you all the possibilities with the code and concerning the strategies and the way that you can generate code. Okay, so when you finish the call to DALI, it returns this URL, which with the redirect label. Okay, so and then you copy it and you go and you can see the image. Okay, it's a different one, by the way, because I was testing this code that I created for this event. I have the same thing here, Eagle choosing rabbit. You will see that, yes, it's a totally different result. This one is better because the first one I tested it with GPT-4 and this one is GPT-4o. So now it confirms what I said, right? And I generated some additional, like a tiger chasing a zebra, and also a plane flying over Craiova. So you can see how amazing the images are, all right? What else? Yes. Okay, so just to perhaps explore a little bit of my presentation then. In terms of the performance to achieve with the Spring, there are 2 modifications. First one, to use GraalVM, okay, native compilation. As a Java developer, you've heard about GraalVM, okay? I have that implemented as well. as part of my code. And the second addition is to enable virtual threads. Okay, so you don't have a one-to-one mapping to a platform OS kernel thread, which is a kind of physical or heavyweight one. Okay, with virtual threads, you can create millions of threads and on top of a single platform thread. That's enabled, again, application.properties file. Spring has a property to enable that. Okay, so I do advise you to have a look. I have both implementations here to really, extract the best performance out of your application, which is, by the way, the title of my talk. Okay, and my PON file also has GraalVM enabled here for you, but I have that in my slide as well. Perhaps it's easier to show it again. Here. Okay, so yes, it's a plugin. Okay, easy one, easy to configure. And then when you go with Maven -p native compilation, it will create native executable. I'm using Windows, so that's why I have the .x extension here. Okay, and yes, and after that, I talked about Oracle Database 23 AI. At the end of my deck, I have all the links for you to explore all the functions and everything. Perhaps the last thing I want to show you here is, as part of this implementation here, you can see that, one of my queries, I have this by vector distance. So that's the specialized function extension concerning the SQL language that we have, so that you don't have to go and perform all the complicated math computation anymore. The Oracle database will provide that for you. Okay. So yes, I think it's time for me to stop then and take some questions, if we have any. Thanks again for the opportunity, and I hope you liked my talk.
Thank you, Juarez.
Okay, do we have any questions? Thank you very much. You are very welcome.
Even though currently no people have asked any question, but at least for me, it's really interesting to see this presentation, since I'm a .NET developer. So for me, seeing everything in Java was really interesting.
Oh yes, at the end of the day, .NET, C#, Python, JavaScript, the cloud providers, the SDKs, and we have so many different ecosystems and programming languages, but they are all doing GenAI now.
Yeah. We received a comment saying absolutely fascinating and engaging. So
thank you very much.
Really received good feedback already.
Yeah, and make sure, guys, that you can get a hold of my deck. Okay, all the links are there. Unfortunately, there is a nice explanation about how vector search works, and the theory behind that. Okay, but that's really difficult to fit in a 45 minutes presentation. And yes, in some of the interesting programs for developers, Oracle Live Labs, some workshops, free ones that you can go and learn about all things on tech.
We received a small question, actually two already.
Nice.
First one is, what are the AI specific features added by Oracle 23?
To 23 AI, yes. Specifically, we have the support to vector data types natively. Okay, so the Oracle database, we call it the converged database because, some projects, they are using an open source database and using the relational model, and then they want to implement NoSQL as an example. Okay, so usually they have to consider a different database engine, but our Oracle database is converged because we can offer pretty much all the different data models, SQL, relational, graph, even blockchain tables. If you want to leverage the characteristics of blockchain, you don't have to stand up an entire blockchain network. We have the blockchain tables that can offer you better security, traceability, and so on. Specific to AI, vector data store now. Okay, that's also a different option for you to store vectors, the vector data type, and the native functions that can perform all the computations for you. My deck has a link to this user guide here. Okay, 200 pages, but it has all the theories concerning distant calculations, distant functions, and all the math behind that, as I explained. One option is to go and implement everything here from scratch, but as a developer, you want to avoid that. The Oracle database has enabled everything that you need to create AI-related applications with this new release, 23 AI. Okay, so
Awesome.
everything is explained here. You can see ONX model, support to the ONX runtime, and so on, the de facto standards, models, and runtimes for all things AI. Okay, I happen to have an interesting talk about Stable Diffusion for Java, which is also a project by Oracle Labs to create applications with Stable Diffusion. But that's what is, you can see, all the math is here. Those are the features. 200 pages for you guys. So it's difficult for me to talk about everything, but in a nutshell, that's it.
Awesome, thank you. We also have a question related. Have you explored the performance comparison with, I think, blockchain or LangChain? I don't know exactly.
Okay. Well, that's a tricky one because I didn't get it. How can I compare, vector store with blockchain? And it's so different, Even the cryptography on top of blockchain, it adds more security, but non-functional requirements in technology, there's always, a kind of if you are doing something, you are possibly, losing a little bit of another non-functional requirement like scalability, more security, the overhead of using cryptography, and so on. But yes, but I'm a developer evangelist, guys, a community person. Okay, so feel free to approach me on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Easy to find me. You can ask our questions. I'm here to work with developers. I'm more than happy to address any questions that you might want, but I have to fully understand.
Yeah. One small question. Is it possible for you to give the link to that document on the chat, maybe?
I don't have it published yet, but I can do it. We still have many sessions concerning the event. Yes, I can just upload it and then share with you. Of course.
No, you can just put, maybe if you have it, if it's online already, you said about the link, maybe you can just put the link directly.
Okay, got you. Okay, so let me, actually there's a way to do that right away. I forgot. I can just look for it on Google, and yes, that's it. We have it. Where is? Okay, so yeah, guys, the PDF there, PDF file is there for you.
Yeah. So for those, the person who asked, the link is in the general, not on the stage, so you can just go there. But I think it's useful because even the ones from the web, maybe they will be interested about this, so they can also read it as well. So it's fine. Okay.
Yeah, I posted on both general and stage tabs.
Yeah, perfect. So thank you very much. I don't know if there are any other questions. We still have a few more minutes.
It was a delight. Thank you very much for having me once again.
We are happy to have you.
Thank you. And I'll be watching the other presentations as well.
Okay.
Now as an attendee.
Yeah, I think the questions are here. So thank you very much for joining.